Hey everybody, my name is Eric. I am one of the founders of Drash, and today we're going to be talking about handling JSON bodies off of the request object. And if we look at the documentation pages, we can see that we have a call that we can use on the request object. It is getBodyParam off of the request, and then we target a parameter, whatever the parameter is, and it'll assign the value to a variable. So to get started, let's go ahead and import our Drash namespace. What we're going to do here is import the namespace, create a resource, create the server, and then run the server, and then we'll go from there. So at the time of this recording, Drash is at v1.0.6. Yeah. Now that we have access to the namespace, we can create our first resource. Well, it'll be our only resource in this video. Let's call it my JSON resource. And define the endpoints that we want our clients to use or have access to. Do JSON resource or JSON body resource. And we'll define a get method so that they can make get requests to this resource. Also, since we're going to be handling JSON bodies, that's using curl, it's automatically going to send a post request. So if you look down here, if I were to send in this curl line, then curl would automatically send a post request, but if the post request is not defined in this resource, then we'll get a method not allowed error. So let's go ahead and make our post method. And then we'll create our server. We'll plug in our resource. We only have one. And we'll run the server. Oops. And we have to pass in the HTTP options, which is just hostname and port. I like using port 1447. And in the terminal, we want some nice output to know that our server is running. And we can test this. So now that our server is running at localhost 1447, we can try and make a GET request to it just to see if we get the GET rec received message or response body. And it's not found. That's because I did JSON body resource. There we go. And if we send a post request using this, we'll see post request received as well. But we want to go and be more dynamic with our data, so we're going to be using this call right here. So let's copy this, paste it in here, and I'll paste in a name. So we're going to check for a name, body param, and then we'll say if there is a name. We'll greet that person. If there isn't a name, Then we'll say, who are you? So we can restart our server, and over here I'm going to pass in some JSON data. Also, actually, let's backtrack. So Drash defaults to form URL encoded bodies. If we want to pass in JSON, we have to pass in the header of content type application JSON. Otherwise, if I just show you how this works, we'll see that it says who are you, and that's because if we do a console log here on the name, restart our server, we see that it's undefined. And the reason why it's undefined is because it's trying to parse this body, this JSON body, as form URL encoded, and it won't work. So you'll always get undefined. So that's just a note to keep in mind, that when you're handling JSON bodies or sending JSON bodies, the content type header application JSON should be part of the request. So let's get back, restart our server without that console log. And if we make this post request with the header application JSON, Drash will know that it's handling a JSON body with this data right here. Oops, keep doing that. JSON body resource. We see that it's who are you, and that's because I'm passing in test as the param name, but we're not checking for that, we're checking for name. So let's change this to name, and it says hello Eric. And also, if we did name here, and the person is John, so it's going to check to see if there's a name in this entire JSON body. And since the name does exist, it's going to find John. It says hello John. So that's it for me. One key takeaway from this video is you have to pass in the header when you're handling JSON bodies. So please keep that in mind. I'll see you next time, guys.